Now, as it's international break, we thought we'd take a look at Manchester United from maybe a slightly different angle and see if we could get some sort of pointers for the future. Now, INEOS completed the takeover of French side Nice back in 2019, so 5 years on. What have they done? Doogie, let's come to you first of all. Tell us what state Nice were in when the takeover happened.
Well, in terms of a bit of Nice's history, they were they've been in Ligue 1 for a long, long time, but their peak was really in the 1950s when they won 4 league titles. Since then, they haven't won a single title. So when INEOS took over Nice, they were hoping to establish themselves back at the sharp end of not just Ligue 1, but regularly qualify for European football. That hasn't really materialised. It's been a real bit of a shame. Their highest finish has been 5th. They finished 9th twice. It really hasn't gone to plan in terms of slowly building them up into a European powerhouse. And given the fact that they took over a Patrick Vieira side that had finished 7th the previous year, that had finished in the top 4 twice in the previous 3 seasons, you'd have maybe hoped to have had higher league placings across their 5 years in charge.
Yeah, so have we seen any improvements since they've been there?
Well, not much progress. Almost one step forward, one step back, really. If we look at their league positions over those 5 years, the first season with Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Sir Dave Brailsford at the helm, they came in 6th, 41 points in 2019-20. And we can see then there's been a pattern of 9th, 5th, 9th, 5th. And look where they are this season, 9th, with 9 points on the board so far. So, as I say, one step forward, one step back. Qualifying for Europe in some of these seasons, but never qualifying for the Champions League. And we know how that can turbocharge teams in terms of finances. Not much in silverware either. They got to a quarter-finals of a Conference League season and they got to the final of the French Cup in 22, which they lost that final to Nantes. And really, there's not been too much to shout about. And I think the Nice fans are pretty frustrated about it.
They are, because there has been fan protests and supporters refusing to go to the stadium. So it's not been plain easy sailing for them, has it?
Yeah, the most notable incident came in May 2023 when Nice came in May with Toulouse and huge swathes of the crowd didn't turn up for that one. Dante, the club captain at the time, then actually publicly criticised INEOS as well. He said that they needed to work more in silence, that it's all very well and good, stating these objectives, but they needed to match it. And that he complained that there'd been so much turnover in the squad. And that's fair to say, because across the 5 seasons they've been there, they've averaged 9 players arriving each season and 14 players leaving each season. So there's just been a huge churn of players at the club and managers too. So there's just been a lack of stability for which to really build up into those stated ambitions of qualifying for the Champions League every year.
Yeah, the captain enraged. It was Dante's Inferno.
Very good.
What was going on there? Of course, most of the talks since the INEOS takeover of Manchester United has centred around the future of Erik Ten Hag. They seem to be sticking with him for now. Do they show that sort of policy with Nice?
Well, Erik Ten Hag might not like our next graphic because we can see that Nice, over those 5 seasons of INEOS being in charge, have got through 7 managers, whether they're caretakers or interims included as well. But 7 men have come into Nice and not really succeeded how INEOS would like them to. And they're managers with good calibre as well. Patrick Vieira, we know how highly rated he was. Obviously a fantastic playing career, but coming into his coaching career, there are big things expected of him. Christophe Galtier, he'd won the league with Lille the season before joining Nice, and he only lasted 1 season there. Lucien Favre, we know, has been at Borussia Dortmund. Farioli's gone on to have success at Ajax. They're doing well this season under his management. So, yeah, it's been a case of a lot of managers coming in and going, and none of them really hitting the spot for Nice, or none of them really delivering for Nice, which, is a concern. So none of these managers lasting a full 2 seasons under INEOS's ownership.
Yeah, we've certainly seen backing for Erik Ten Hag this summer. Is that something we can expect to continue based on how they have spent at Nice as far as transfers is concerned?
Well, I think the first thing to say is it's a slightly different level in terms of the amount of money that's been spent. Remember, Erik Ten Hag has had £600 million plus spent in the transfer market by Man United on players that he wants to bring to the club. When we look at Nice, though, Sir Jim Ratcliffe certainly has invested regularly. You can see this is their net spend since he's been owner of the club, and we can see apart from the year where obviously COVID was taking a big toll, and this summer where they made a small profit, INEOS have been spending, this is £110 million net in the red, basically. So they have backed these managers they've brought in, and as Doogie says, there's been a high turnover of players, and they've spent money on those players to bring them into the club. And in our next graphic, we can see how that breakdown has gone over the seasons. Particularly in 22-23, they splashed out Terry Moffey. They signed a striker for over £20 million. That was one of their bigger outlays, and he went on to be their top scorer the following season. So maybe that one paid off. But I think that that churn of players, that overturn of players, and the amount of money that's been spent, you're probably saying they're not getting the rewards for the investments they've made. But steady investment, but obviously it's going to be on a much bigger scale at Man United over the coming transfer windows.
Yeah, Doogie, has there been a change in tactics in terms of those signings? Remind us some of the names to go there in this time and the transfer policy currently.
Yeah, well, like any club in Liga that doesn't qualify for the Champions League regularly, they often have to sell their best players in order to keep the project moving, in order to invest in their young stars, etc. And you've seen the likes of Mario Lemina leave, you've seen Alan Saint-Maximin leave. There's been a number of stars, Calvin Stengs, Kasper Dolberg have all been sold, who've all excelled for Nice at various points during the INEOS period, let's say. Kefren Turam left for Juventus this summer. That was a big blow for them. So they've definitely lost stars every summer, which is probably something that Man United won't have to deal with in the same way, partly because the team is underperforming so drastically at the moment that who would really want to buy too many players from Man United at the moment? They've tried to target young, hungry players. There's been a huge turnover. Terry Moffey, as Pete mentioned, was a real star, expected to really shine there. Jeremy Boga as well. They've targeted exciting young players and also taken some risks on players whose stars may be fallen, you know. Tanguy and Dembele going there this summer. They've had a spell with Aaron Ramsey, Kasper Schmeichel, Nicola Pepe. So they've targeted young, hungry players and also sort of rolled the dice a little bit with players that need another chance. And in the case of Ramsey, Schmeichel and Nicola Pepe, that really didn't work out whatsoever at the club. Tanguy and Dembele started much better there. But as Pete showed in that graphic earlier, their league position is still really disappointing at the moment.